Hey guys, and welcome to a new episode of the Diaries of Everything Ching. I hope you have your beverage, whether it's warm, hot, cold, I do not judge. In this episode, I wanted to talk to you guys about something that I'm really starting to have a huge obsession with, and that's solo traveling. The first time I solo traveled was last year. And when I tell you, it's one of the most scary yet liberating experiences in life. Okay. Now, obviously, I am going to stress please, 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 please travel safely because, a lot of times there's people that pay attention to patterns. There's people who, really watch to see, okay, is this person traveling alone? And also, do not spare any expense when it comes to your safety. Make sure you're buying all of those extra gadgets needed for extra safety. And also, when it comes down to questions, just kind of make sure that you keep your story straight because people pay attention to stuff like that. And then, they try to prey on you afterwards. But this is how I got into the whole solo traveling thing. I mean, yeah, solo traveling too, I guess you can say. So basically, what had happened was I finished one of my jobs that I was doing at the time, and the way everything happened was very strange. But that's a story for another time. And so I remember kind of being over everything because the last time I traveled prior to last year was in 2019. So I was kind of getting to a point where I was kind of over everything. COVID happened, and then they had, the whole thing with the vaccine, needed to travel, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I remember I was on the phone with a friend, and I basically was talking about how badly I felt like I needed to get away. So I just started looking up, different trips and stuff like that. That's something I do all the time. I always feel like I'm looking up somebody's trip or something. And so I was looking and I saw Cuba. Now I've gone to Cuba before in the sense of looking it up, not actually traveling to the country. And I've always been curious. I don't know what it was about Cuba, but it just always brought me back to Cuba when it came down to looking at packages. And it wasn't only because it was cheap, I just had a weird curiosity with Cuba. So I remember looking it up, and the price was really good. This is 7 days. This is all inclusive. This includes transfer and all of that. So I remember I was on the phone with my friend, and they were like, "Book it," and I'm like, "No." So I didn't exit off of it, but I just closed my computer. I went on. So the next day, I'm like, "Okay, okay, 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 okay. I'm gonna book it." So I ended up finding a better deal. So I'm like, if this is not fate, I don't know what is. So I went, I filled in all my information, and I sat there. And I was on the phone with my friend, and I'm like, okay, like, am I really gonna book it? So it's like, book it. And I'm like, I'm really gonna book it. They're like, bro, book it. So I closed my eyes and I pressed the button. And I booked it. And I just suddenly felt my stomach bubbling. I was like, I'm so scared now. And so, I try to get over it by preparing, getting myself excited, and, probably like a week out. Oh, let me include this. I booked that flight 2 weeks before I was due to leave. So the week out, now I'm actually excited because now I'm not working anymore. So I have my whole attention to draw to this particular trip. And so I'm buying things for the trip, I'm preparing X, Y, and Z. And so that was great. The night before, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm cool. I got this in the bag. When I got to the airport and I sat there waiting for them to call my flight, oh my gosh, I sat there and I looked at the planes and I'm like, bro, I'm really going. And when I walked down the aisle, sat in the seat, I was like, okay, okay. I had a little bit of apprehension, like, I don't know about this. But something was just moving my feet, and it's like, girl, you done paid the money. You may as well just go ahead and, have a good time. Let me tell you something. I have flyers anxiety. I always need a window seat. The reason why is because I like to know when we're about to take off. And I can only do that if I see out the window. So I was there and I felt a sense of, my normal flyers anxiety. When I tell you, when that plane took off in the air, usually I feel my stomach drop. This time I felt a weight just coming off of my shoulders. And I said, I made the right decision. And that trip, I did meet some really cool people, and a couple people did realize, okay, yeah, she's traveling alone. But that's only because they were on my flight and they saw me kind of moving by myself. But you know what? I was able to clear my mind. I took my shadow work with me. I took my journal with me. I brought my speakers. And even though I met people and I did a lot of things with other people, I always made sure I made time for me and what my actual purpose of going was. Of course, yes, I wanted to get some sun. I wanted to get some drinks. I wanted to, have a good time, experience new culture. But ultimately, I wanted to go somewhere where I can just clear my mind, be alone, be in an unfamiliar space. Because when I'm in an unfamiliar space, it kind of forces me to draw myself back to something familiar. And that's when I would bring out my journal and my shadow work and my music. Those were the three. That was my company. So when I came back, I felt such a sense of clarity. I was like, oh my gosh, I see why people do this. I see why people do this. Now, I'm not going to say that it's not still scary, because I definitely had moments. That first night when I went to sleep, I was so afraid, but also I was so tired. So it was really hard for me. I was kind of going through this weird up and down. And so I remember just like always making sure, if I'm in my room for longer than a certain amount of time, I always put on all of my security. Anytime. Anything over 5 minutes, everything goes on, because I didn't want to take the risk. Yes, people were kind, but at the same token, like, I don't know who's watching me. I had looked back before I actually go to my room. Like, there were all these different precautions, and I can certainly do an episode, of all the things that I did to ensure my safety in solo traveling. But I don't want to ramble because I can. However, I didn't want to close it off with this. If you feel like you need to get away and you start to feel suffocated by your reality, you don't even have to go far, honestly. You don't even have to get on a flight. Even if you take a bus somewhere, make sure and get that time for yourself. Because really and truly, if we're going to continue to wait on people, we will never move. And we don't want to determine how we, move and live our lives and spend our free time on someone else. It's always great to have company, but the way you feel so empowered and so liberated when you're by yourself, and you really get a chance to sit with yourself and get to know yourself outside of your day-to-day person. Oh my gosh, there's nothing like it. There is nothing like it. Even if you have a loved one, children, it doesn't have to be all day. If you can get a little bit of time, 30 minutes, an hour, just to go into a place that is just for you, that's not your average location, I can't even begin to describe how liberating that is. But if you can get on a flight and go somewhere, I suggest you do it at least once. Everybody deserves that level of liberation. Everyone. I promise you, everyone. And I don't make promises. But I promise you, everyone deserves that level of liberation, because there's nothing like it. And I can't even put it into words. It's something that you have to experience firsthand to really understand. So with that being said, anyone who is traveling, I am sending you positive energy. I am praying that you make it there safely, you have a great trip, and you make it home safely to your families. And until next time, cheers to a new episode. Take care.